James from SE Electronics, and these are our new speakers. Designed by Andy Munro and Sue. Andy Munro is a very famous studio designer and was also responsible for a lot of the designs that came out of the Dyne Audio group for the last 12 years. He's now working with us to produce a new range of monitors. These are the first. And the idea of these is to produce something completely new. We had a look at what is a very crowded market, and in visiting lots of dealers and talking to distributors and customers, what we found were a lot of square boxes, lots and lots of square boxes, not very interesting. So we wanted to do something that was funky but also functional. And when we started to think about doing this, Andy came up with the idea of an egg. The reason for that is that he had the theory that in nature an egg is something which is created in order to have a perfectly resonant neutral environment for the embryo to develop in. So we thought it'd be interesting to experiment with egg shapes to see whether the same was true with audio. And in fact, we very quickly found out that it is. It's not an easy thing to produce a structure like this. The moldings are incredibly expensive. The production design is extremely difficult. But between Andy and Sue, since we announced that we were working together in March last year, they've managed to produce working prototypes which will be ready for production around about May time 2011. So you should see these hitting the shops before the summer this year. It's a two-driver system. We call it a fully integrated active system. So these monitors are active, but the power amplification is external. You would normally assume that meant they were passive speakers with an amp, but in this case, the speakers only work with our amplification system, and the amp is dedicated to those speakers. The whole system is integrated, comes with the amplifier, the cables, everything all in one box. And that's allowed us to produce a much higher spec amplifier because we can put a bigger transformer in it. It also gives you a lot more functionality than a standard set of powered monitors. One of the things that we're doing, for example, is having a continuous gain control on a secondary input. You can bypass the pro inputs for the mixing console, which are +4, -10 dB, and switch to the continuous gain control input. And that will allow you to put your CD player or your iPod direct into the monitors and use them as a hi-fi system as well if you want to, or just for listening to source material that you pre-recorded without having to reroute stuff through your console. It's got a high-frequency shelf in there, it's got a low-frequency shelf, swept shelf in there. We're also doing, there will be on the final design, a recessed LED in the front of each of the cabinets. And that's going to be only visible when the speakers are pointed directly at you, which means that if you sit in front of your console and have somebody move the speakers for you until you can see the lights, they're going to be perfectly in the sweet spot every time without having to do any room measurements at all. The resonant neutral chassis means that for the first time ever in a speaker design, you can actually hear pretty much only what the drivers are doing. So there's absolutely minimal interaction with the cabinet itself. And that means you're getting an incredible level of detail in the reproduction of the sound. In fact, Andy said recently, and it's in the press release that we put out, that in all the years he's been doing speaker and monitor testing, and all the years he was designing speakers using the same kind of source materials, he's now hearing stuff through these that he's never heard before on any monitors. The detail level is so incredible, because we're not having to use EQ in order to sort out problems which are caused by the physical space that the drivers are sitting in. What you're hearing is pure sound, and that's the egg.